find. My binding karma chains, help me loose those chains. Help me slash those chains. Help me smash those chains. Help me break these loops in time. Princess Lava Lava. Yeah. Years of life and love were lost. To feed illusion, what a loss. I want to know what's real. Help me to find real. Help me to be real. Help me to stay real, cause living real's got no hidden cost. Princess Lava Lava, yeah. Swing my pendulum with your soothing voice. Help me to this place within. Demask this plastic skin. Free plastic skin demask. Princess Lava Lava, yeah. Princess Lava, Princess Lava, Princess Lava Lava, yeah.
The views expressed in the following show are of the host, the guest, and the callers. The content of the following show, its accuracy, authenticity, and the ramifications of the use or application of said content is the responsibility of those speaking and listening, not the broadcast medium.
And now, live from Chicago, here is the Black Knight of Talk Radio, James Arthur Yancic.
All right, we are back and we are live. Feet to the fire. I'm your host, James. Like was said, the Black Knight of Talk Radio. We are here live. We're going to have Dr. Rita Louise with us today. She goes back a long ways with me. Been on very early on in the show and been on many times. We keep in touch. She's one of the few guests I actually met in person. You know, you do all this stuff through the web and all that. There's only been a handful. She has been in alternative healing and medicine and so forth for years. Natural doctor, medical intuitive, author, lecturer, etc. And she has been top in the web searches for many years, decades, I guess longer than she like to say. And then all of a sudden, bing, you know, the big C word came out. Used to be COVID, cancer, now it's COVID. And all of a sudden we have Google intervening and saying, you know, certain health things and certain ways of dealing with health issues or how you choose on it, all of a sudden those websites go down. And she did some articles. Well, yeah, I don't have the links for it. I'll have to get the links. So she did articles on her Substack. That's the one thing I'm missing on there. Going through this journey of finding out what it is and what she's done with it. And she wanted to come by and talk about it. I wanted to hear it. So I want to welcome to the show again, Dr. Rita Louise. Hello. Actually, I just turned you on now.
Oh, so we're still live together, even though I was not quite alive before, but I'm liver now.
Yeah, well, I mean, you do this for so many years, you think it would just keep working. But anyway, so, yeah, your soulhealer.com has been around for quite a long time, and you've written many a book and talked about many a topics, and it has been in that coveted first, second page. Hasn't it been for years?
For years. I mean, somebody asked me, it's like, how did you get a one-word domain? And I was like, well, I got the domain in like 1997 and have had it ever since then, and have always, I got online, I put up my first web page in the early 90s, when you actually had to code everything in HTML, way before there were all these programs that would put your web page together or help you put it together. And so I've always been active in that aspect of my business of having and auditing my webpage and watching the placement and making, updating it and doing the things that you need to do, and I'm going to preface this with one of the things that I found out recently was that Google controls 92% of search traffic. And so they're, and when I was posting these articles, people were like, well, I use DuckDuckGo, or I use this, or I use that. And it's like, it's not about what you use. It's about people finding me, because it's my business. And it's not just me and my business, even though it is personal, but it's anybody that kind of works in this field that they got dropped. And so if 92% of people are using Google for their search, and add to that, DuckDuckGo pulls from Google search results. So you're also getting hit with the DuckDuckGo and some of the other ones that you're never going to be found. I mean, I went literally from like page 2 or 3 in that area to page 17. 17. And and I looked at the competition and they were 5 pages long. Here's my bio, schedule a session, and that's it. And my webpage is 140 something pages. And that's because I haven't really done anything to it in a long time, because it's like, well, why bother if nobody can find you ever?
Yeah, I found out you've been much more aggressive in the website than I have as far as the marketing and all that. But I have found out that if you don't change your website, that scores against you, because the Google crawlers will come by, and if it sees the same as the last time, then it lengthens the time it crawls. And then it crawls, and I haven't put another one up on some of my inner sites, which is another, I guess, single word one. I got that in 97. I haven't changed that in years, literally. And Google doesn't even know it exists anymore.
But they'll do tricky things, like they'll unindex your pages, but, so I just thought it was me. I thought that I was doing something wrong. And well, let's talk SEO. So SEO is search engine optimization. And so Google tells you this is what you need to do in order to get #1 placement. And so your title needs to be a certain length. If your keyword of the document needs to be in the title, it needs to be in the first heading. It needs to appear so many times inside the article. You have to have images. If you want better ranking, the keyword is in the image title. I mean, there are all these like bells and whistles and things you have to do in order to maximize your search presence. And there are companies out there like SEMrush or Ahrefs or Dib that will sit there and evaluate your site and say, oh, well, this title's too long, or, oh, you have a link that doesn't go anywhere. Like you click on it, it says this page cannot be found, and it'll tell you that that stuff shows up. And so you can use their services to really clean up what's going on your web page, and that's what they tell you. That is the message. Do these things and you can get on page 1. So when I found my page on page 17, not knowing what was going on, I spent an entire year redesigning my website so it was a lot faster, cleaning up images, because they changed, they keep changing it. They wanted articles that were 300 to 700 words long. Well, they didn't like those anymore, and they wanted longer content articles to make you look more authoritative. So articles that were smaller that I could group together, like I had 7 articles on the chakras, one for each chakra. But they were short, they were like 700 words. So I took each of those and combined them into one big long form article. It was like, okay, so I did these things. And so in the programs that you can use that look at your page, I had like a 70, 80 score on them. Now I range somewhere between 93 and 99, depending on which one I'm looking at. Okay, so that should tell you that I should be like wham bam at the top of the pile, you would think. But it moved me from page 17 to page 11, all that work. And I was so frustrated. Then, in my effort to figure out what was going on, I found this one site, and I don't have the thing handy, but if you wanted it, I can pull it up real quick, that showed your traffic. So there was a reasonable amount of traffic going to my site. And then in March of 2020, it went from this amount of traffic to, there was almost a straight line down with the drop in traffic. And I never recovered from it. And I found that in like 2021, 2022, so after I did all the website redesign, that's when I found that. And I kind of gave up because I was just so upset. But then I found out that people like Dr. McCullough, Dr. Axe, Dr. Wheel, all these other alternative doctors, but they're medical doctors that are more alternative, they also got the axe, and like Dr. McCullough, who is a very well-known vegan kind of alternative medical doctor, lost 99% of his traffic. 99%. And his website was huge, huge. And I had heard rumors that he was just taking stuff off his site, trying to get rid of stuff, Is that you?
I don't know. I didn't hear anything. I know what he said, that he also was threatened with some of his stuff. So he took off he put stuff on for like 2 weeks and then it disappears. You're supposed to read it within that time. He did that. But
one of the things about search engine visibility, okay, so this is the double hanger. And so they want you to put out content that's kind of in your area. So if you're talking about health, you just want to have health related articles. You don't want to talk about installing wallpaper or roofing because it's not kind of in your neighborhood. And then the keywords drive people to your site. So if I have an article about hair loss, and somebody's looking for something about hair loss, that's going to potentially get them to my site because hopefully I'm high up in the search engine. But if you take all that material off your site, now you don't have the carrots. You don't have any carrots out there. You just have a page with your picture on. And it's like, but so how's anybody going to find you unless they are looking up your name specifically? It's this total catch-22 that they put you in.
I found out years ago with Google that they will learn you, the guy who's browsing, right? They don't know your name per se. If you log in, they do, but they keep track of your cookies. And so, like, if you type in your own website, and you do that a few times, so when you type in your own website, it will actually be higher up in the search engine because of your last time you went and looked at it. So when I'm doing my stuff, I'm going like, wow, it's pretty high. I'm kind of surprised. And then I used a private browser where there's no connection at all, and it was nowhere. I'm like, okay, you're just playing the vanity card, so to speak. I just wanted to find out. So what? I mean, is there? You've done all these things, which put it together and all that. Is it? There's nothing left to conclude that they just don't.
There's more.
Is there?
There's
Okay,
more.
all right.
There's more.
Okay, let's hear.
So this is what they put out on the surface. This is what companies will solicit you to sign up for their service and pay $100 a month to use their service to get you on page one of a search ranking. And so that was my belief for a really long time. But then several months ago, I kind of revisited my site. I have a lot of stuff going on. I kind of didn't touch my site, kind of took a step back from my business. And I'm like, it's time for you to go back. Let's revisit this and figure out where you're going, because I had no clue. So then, as part of that, I discovered that Google has what they call their Quality Raters Guide. And it's a 181-page document that tells these 1,600 individuals that they hire how to evaluate a web page and either give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Now, where it really bites is that they don't advertise it. Google doesn't tell you that they have these people evaluating your site. They don't tell you up front what they're looking for. And the only reason that this Quality Raters Guide shows up anywhere is because it's been leaked from Google to people who have written some articles about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, isn't that pathetic? So in that Quality Raters Guide, they have the EAT category: expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. Okay, so you need to be an expert, you need to be considered an authority, and your site needs to be considered trustworthy. So apparently, if you've been doing this work for, 20 plus years and you've written all these articles, that's not enough. Okay, so there's that. But underneath that category, they have what they call your money, your life. And that's the one that bites. Okay, there's the trustworthiness, but then there's the your money, your life that says anything that goes against the mainstream narrative and falls into the category of health, finances. If you're telling somebody, oh, well, this is a good stock to pick, you fall into that your money, your life. You cannot give any kind of third-party advice as part of this your money, your life, or you get devalued, unless you have really high EAT. And what you see now, if you do a search, is PubMed, Chicago Med, and these organizations that are all in the alternative health area that obviously have credentials, like more credentials than me, or the individual practitioner that's trying to work. But, and we were talking before we came on a little bit about reptilians, and this is the part, you're going to love this part, James. You're going to love it. So in one of the and they're talking about like things that are considered offensive in the your money, your life is if you make claims that lemons cure cancer, if you make claims that 9/11 was an inside job, or if you make claims that reptilians control government, you will automatically get devalued. And I read that and I'm like, I am so screwed. I am so screwed.
Of all the categories they can pick, right? They picked the reptilians control the government.
Well, it just makes me go, so are reptilians really controlling the government? And that's why they made that specific notation in there.
Yeah.
But where it gives me the burn and why I ended up writing this whole article, other than it really pissed me off, and it's not just me. So let's say I make a supplement for hair loss, and in there I say, oh, well, this stuff is great for hair loss. Like you watch a commercial, like if you watch Fox News and they have, Relief Factor, or they have all these different supplement type commercials on there, and they make a lot of claims on those commercials about how good they are. But if you do that on your webpage, it will devalue you because now you're making unapproved or scientifically accepted, no clinical trial claims. And so you can say it on TV, but you can't say it on your webpage. And so people that sold products, so there were the practitioners like myself, who are offering something other than, a shot or a pill or whatever, and a different way of looking at health. But then there are the people that are making products who also got killed. They literally there is a guy who made this nasal spray stuff. He made other stuff. It was essential oil guy. And the nasal spray was great. I mean, I was having this sinus thing go on. It was right after I got COVID. And it was great. And I ran out and I tried to buy some more. He is gone, gone, gone. Because if you base your livelihood on search engine traffic and you're on page 17, you're not going to sell anything.
Wait, something popped in my head when you said making unsubstantiated claims not backed up by clinical trials, like the COVID vax will stop you from getting COVID. That seemed to be okay. You could say that. But if you had and there was no clinical trials and there was false claims, but that seemed to be okay.
Well, yeah, but it was people that fit that EAT, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. So Dr. Anthony Fauci was high on that list. So anything he said didn't get dissed because that was the narrative that they wanted to put out. That was the mainstream narrative. And so if you said, don't get the vaccine, it doesn't work, you would automatically get taken down.
Right.
Because
now
it went against the narrative.
This is Google doing this, right? This is like Google, the company, deciding this stuff.
Yeah, and who were the 1,600 people that are making these decisions? I mean, are there people behind the back of Google pushing it? Google gets a lot of money from Big Pharma. They get a lot of money from Big Pharma. So is Big Pharma manipulating them into towing the status quo? I don't know. I mean, I just am looking at it from an alternative health perspective. But when you start talking about concepts like 9/11 or anything that would be conspiracy theory, and if you're getting devalued because you talk about that, then, who is the authority? The Warren Report?
Yeah. Well,
but let me just throw one thing in before we move. So that one thing, lemons cure cancer, that you automatically get devalued for, which, is just their example. One of the things that I found was I did a search on, can lemons cure cancer? PubMed, Cleveland Clinic, this website, that website, all big name scientific study pages all say that lemons can have a therapeutic benefit for people with cancer. And it's like, well, how can Google say, if you say lemons cure cancer, I'm going to get devalued, but these people say lemons cure cancer and they're still okay. Why don't they get devalued?
Well, I mean, you got the authoritative thing there, but also that statement is have a therapeutic effect. Didn't say cure. If you say the word cure to me means now cancer's gone, whereas a therapeutic effect means you still have the cancer, but it's less aggressive, or you can.
I hear what you're saying. No, I hear what you're saying, but it gives, their reasoning is that they are doing it to save you from misinformation, and so have a therapeutic effect, cure, whatever, it's still,
Now, let me go back to that your life, your money, you say it was? Is
your
that
money, your
I
life.
don't even understand that linguistically in reference to what it means. Like your life, your money sounds like it's my life, my money, so let me see these sites because it's my life and it's my money.
But they're the ones that are deciding what's good for you or not, which is really sad. Let me see if I can find something more clearly. Okay. Google holds anything it identifies as potentially impacting your health, finances, or safety, your money, your life, to a higher standard. It is evaluated with a deeper scrutiny than other pages in an effort to eliminate harmfully misleading, inaccurate, or untrustworthy information. Examples they include are clearly inaccurate, harmful information that can be easily refuted by straightforward and widely accepted facts, and harmful, unsubstantiated theories, claims not grounded in any reasonable facts or evidence. And only the mainstream narrative is reasonable facts or evidence. So any topic that contradicts the well-established scientific consensus are demonstrably inaccurate or are now not grounded in reasonable evidence received the lowest ranking. And so the only thing that, and this was an interesting one. So if you tell a firsthand account, so let's say I use Relief Factor, what's his name? Adam? No. The guy, I told my wife that I was feeling better, that it was gone. Anyway, we crack up at that commercial. But let's say I'm using Relief Factor and I'm giving a personal testimonial about the efficacy of it. That is not considered harmful because I'm telling my experience about using something, and so that's one of their workarounds. It's like, well, you need to make it be personal about you. And it's like, well, what am I supposed to just sit there and make up a bunch of crap and lie just to get around the Google crap? But so you can tell a personal story and it's not devalued because it's your story, and it's a subjective experience. But then, of course, in this article, I have to like throw the crack out. It's like, so if I'm a experiencer and I've had an experience with alien abduction, will I get devalued because obviously aliens aren't mainstream, but it was my personal experience? Don't know. Just don't know.
I've heard this years ago from people I've been on my show when people would want to know what to do. We'll call it in the medical realm. The way that he responded was he would say, well, if it was me, here's what I would do. Somehow not give advice. He's just he's giving his own personal account and all that. But it seems like...
Well, and when I work with clients, because if I say, oh, well, you should do this, that's considered giving medical advice without a license. And so, I always caveat it with if it was me. But if you're giving presenting information, you go, historically, this has been used in this way, or folk medicine, or the indigenous people of the Americas use this. I mean, it's not me telling you to take it. I'm just giving information. I mean, anybody that goes to my site, I don't sell anything. Well, I have my books on there, but I don't sell stuff. I'm an information provider, and so, but apparently, it's insulting. My information obviously is incredible in the eyes of Google. But really, they just want that mainstream narrative. They just want you to walk the party line. And if you look at articles now and type in like, alternative ways of dealing with acne, they just have very basic stuff, like change your diet, get some exercise, wash your face, and they caveat it with, go see your doctor.
All right, I'm getting ready to ask you a question. Have you looked at this through any of the AI based things, does that still apply there? Because I just started with the AI stuff, and I found in doing research, they seem to be more open to alternative stuff, at least the brief part that I've looked at.
I mean, that has been the thing that I've been recommending to people, because the AI stuff will give you a more, they don't filter. You know, you don't get a PubMed article that you can't read or understand what they're talking about, that don't provide any information. And so I've been recommending it to people to use, and I've started using it to get information myself, you know, and at the end, they are pretty upfront to say, you know, well, this hasn't been clinically proven, and, you know, you should go see your doctor. They always caveat at the end, which is fine. You know, and so to the listener, if you are a user, if you are somebody that is interested in natural and alternative health, I would highly recommend, if you're looking for a supplement, you know, because you have gas or insomnia or an infection, that you go and use AI as opposed to trying to find something on Google, because you won't find it anymore.
I just looked up
Gone.
you in I'm at Gab AI is what I use. They have a whole a slate of different ones. And Dr. Rita Louise is a naturopathic physician, medical intuitive, and author, known for her work in alternative medicine, energy healing, and esoteric spirituality. She has written books and produced content on the topics like past lives, extraterrestrial influences, and holistic health. Some of her notable works are including Avoiding the Cosmic 2x4 and Dark Angels. Her perspectives often challenge mainstream medical and scientific views, leaning into metaphysical explanations for health and human experiences. And then it's like, if you want to know more about your individual books. I mean, that seems to be pretty fair.
Other than the, you know, kind of slanting it a little bit, like, she's just one of them weirdos, but, you know,
I mean,
I am.
I mean, the challenging, I mean, well, I guess I take it kind of literal, like you do.
Yeah, I do, but, you know, the powers that be don't like people that are challenging. You know, and I just sent a letter to, you know, I'm in Texas, so Ted Cruz is my senator, and, you know, I sent a letter to RFK Jr. about this, you know, because they're wanting to put forward this whole alternative health thing, and the whole, you know, challenging vaccines and challenging this and the foods. But if people are interested in learning more about how to take care of themselves naturally, their inability to find a practitioner, or their inability to find product or get guidance on what they could do, is greatly inhibited.
Another AI is called Perplexity. They're geared toward searching, right? So these other ones are models they based on what they know and what they don't know. And it's a lot more extensive, but again, it's pretty much straight up. I mean, that's what I've been doing. If you go on, I use Vivaldi search web page, and I choose Brave Search. They have an AI built into the Brave search engine. I don't know which one. I don't know what they're using, but I found that to be better than actually looking at the results, because the results go from Google. And using the AI opinion, of course, you know, I guess that'll change someday, huh? They'll find that little loophole and then yank that from how it's working.
Well, I mean, you know, I would assume that things like Alexa are AI driven, you know, and I mean, I'm sure you saw the videos of people going, why should I vote for Donald Trump? And it's like, oh, well, we can't talk about political things. And why should I vote for Kamala Harris? And it's like, oh, well, she's like the first Black woman, and she's done all of these great things. And it's like, wow. So even, you know, on some levels, depending on which AI thing you use, there's a certain amount of taint and a certain amount of slant.
I mean, that's why I went with Google or Gab, because their whole format is no censorship, and the proof is there's a lot of knuckleheads on Gab saying a lot of knucklehead stuff, but I could just block them, right? I mean, that's the way, to me, freedom is you say what you want, but I don't have to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody starts talking about stuff, I just block them, and I don't notice them. But by going on through the Gab AI, it's like they have Grok in here, and I asked Grok, I go, okay, I actually from X, I asked Grok, I said, Grok is on Gab, is it the same thing? And he said, no, Grok is only on X, it's not found anywhere else. I said, yeah, but Gab says they have Grok, and I gave him the web page with Grok on it. And then Grok says, well, they must be using some type of unofficial API or user access. The problem with Gab is you're not going to have any protection from things like racism and dangerous answers that you will get on Gab, or X. So you got Grok himself admitting that they filter the responses, and that if you're on Gab, you won't get that filter, which is like, that's why I want to be on Gab.
Interesting. That's interesting. I'm going to have to play around. I mean, I've been using Grok a lot, and I haven't played with Gab, but I'm going to have to play with that one.
Yeah, the only problem
I
with
didn't
Gab,
like Chat GPT. I did not care for that one.
the only problem with Gab now, and I understand, I mean, you got to pay the bills, right? But you used to be able to use limited use of AI if you're a Gab a payer, what is it, Gab Pro, whatever it's called. Now you have to have a subscription with their AI, which it's $100 for a year, which is pretty reasonable for the other play. And you get to have Owen, ChatGTP, Llama, Grok, Gemini, Perplexity, DeepSync, Seek R1, Claude. I mean, you get all of the ones there. So, but my whole thing is I don't want to be protected from some bad words this guy may say. And I'm not going to be looking at how to make a bomb or nothing. So I'm not worried about that stuff. I just want truth. Give me accuracy. I want to be able to ask a question, and did this person say this? Yes, they did. Here's the reference.
Mm-hmm.
So what if, in this part, I don't know if you had more in your journey there, or what, at this point, what have you done with your whole presence, your business on the web? How are you coping with this?
I mean, as far as trying to improve my web presence, so I have multiple domains, but I have two that were very similar. And one was mysoulhealer.com, which is my primary domain, which was the one that was on page 17. That has a ton of articles and stuff, and it has things about reptilians. And then I have a different one that is medical-intuitives.com. And it was just very health related, but it also suffered a big death as well. Doesn't have as many backlinks, I mean, I didn't put a lot of effort into promoting that site, which is another thing you have to do, is get backlinks and do this and that. Anyway, so I recently, like very recently, took all of the articles off. And I'm just kind of waiting to see if that will shift my presence on that domain just by taking all the articles off and making it be, air quote, less toxic.
Is this, it's medical-intuitive.com, right?
Right. Intuitives with an S.
Oh, okay. .com. Because I was getting some other guy. I go, that does not look like you. There we go. I could put that in the list of things here. So it seems to me that on one hand, we're hearing about how they're not censoring anymore and things are backing up, but not really.
Not really.
They're doing it more of a sleight of hand than straight up front. Have you been?
They're allowing political speech. And some health stuff when it relates to providing information about COVID, not necessarily about treatment, but but that's all kind of past tense now. I mean, if you think about it, talking about COVID is past tense, and now it's more what they're sharing is discovery and not anything that I would necessarily actively act on in this moment, except maybe like a spike protein detox. But after that, and I just, all right, so hang on one second. Let me just, I'm running a little experiment. Well, that's kind of interesting. So I typed in how to detox from spike protein. Now, it might be that PubMed and all these other authoritarian places have nothing, but like Peter McCullough's site comes up really quick, like right at the top, tied to Peter McCullough, so there's actually, and then 5 down, there's fact check. Post-push unproven spike protein detox regimen. Like,
I was doing some research on methylene blue, and I noticed the absence of PubMed and all those other guys on there, that it didn't have anything negative about it, which I was surprised.
But see, they don't post anything negative in the general sense of the word, because the only thing they'll post is if they've done some kind of a study. And so if they're studying depression in lab rats, transgendered lab rats, and they try to use turmeric as a thing, they're like, well, there's some anecdotal information about turmeric, but nobody's really studied it. They'll do that, but if so they only post stuff that there's studies on. They don't post just general commentary on supplements.
Yeah, because I've seen stuff. I don't have an example at the top of my head though, where when I type in this particular possibility of like something to cure this or whatever, I'll get all of those websites, which will give the normal ways of dealing with the project, and they cast doubt on the other ones.
Of course.
So what are your plans going forward? How are you keeping the lights on?
I've been doing a lot of radio interviews. I mean, one of the things that I've been doing, which has absolutely nothing to do with my business, particularly, well, it has nothing to do with my business, is I bought a project house, and I've been working on that for the past year, which really kind of gave me the opportunity to really take a step back from my business. I mean, I would work with clients when I would have clients, but, and I just really had to like put it in the universe's hands and just trust that whatever's supposed to happen is supposed to happen, but that's kind of wrapping up. And this whole thing with the search results stuff, so if they really are going to put their money to their, well, I don't know, but if they're ever going to sit there and really own this, well, we want America to be happy, and we want America to be healthy, then they need to take the reins off of people getting access to this information. So one of the examples that I gave in the article was, so let's say something happens and you hurt your back. And so you go to your doctor, and your doctor gives you, it's like, oh, I hurt my back. And the first thing they do is they give you like a week's worth of painkillers and a week's worth of muscle relaxers, and they send you home. Go lay on the sofa and heal. So the week goes by, you still can't walk, you're still in a lot of pain. You go back to the doctor, and, their next step is to send you to an orthopedic surgeon with the idea in the back of your mind of, I'm probably going to have to get back surgery to deal with this discomfort. That's the mainstream model. They never suggest to you, well, maybe you should go soak in a hot tub. Oh, well, maybe you should take like some turmeric or ginger to address the inflammation. Oh, maybe you should put a heating pad on it. Oh, maybe you should go get a massage. Oh, maybe you should go see the chiropractor. They never recommend that. And so all they want to do is take you in, give you a medication, and slice you up or do something, run a bunch of tests versus giving you something potential that you could do that might fix it. It might fix it, it might not. But I don't know about you, but I already know that you would agree with me. I would rather go and sit in my tub. I would rather go and try getting a massage. I would rather go and see the chiropractor long before I'm going to go see an orthopedic surgeon and talk to them about operating on my back.
I agree. I mean, I the last thing I want to do, I mean, the last thing I want is to have any kind of surgeries or nothing. And I don't even want drugs. You know, I don't even want medicines. I try to do everything as possible.
But the opportunity to have that voice and have that potentiality put out there for you to look at has been silenced.
Yes. I was trying to find your Substack.
It's Dr. Rita Louise on Substack.
Okay, I got that here. I've been looking for you because I have to link these articles because I don't one at a point.
So, hang on. So the title you would hang on one second. So, because there's a bunch of short ones that are all connected.
Right.
So hang on. So the one that you would want to get is Google's Health Heist: How Big Tech Stole My Voice and Yours. So that's the first in the series. And it goes on the Google Playbook, Google Secret Algorithm, Google Shadow Judges, Are Quality Raters Shaping Your Search Fate? Google's Health Purge, Who Judges the Judges, and the Unseen Verdict. So that's all part of that series. But the first article in that series is Google's Health Heist: How Big Tech Stole My Voice. And then the second article, and I got to scroll down here a lot, is... And maybe I'll even find it.
Now, I do have them. I did share the link before, so I can type in here because I'm on here. I'm trying to find it and I can't. But I've been on Substack like 5 times in my life. I have a Substack page, but I've never even used it.
Actually, you know what, James? I am loving Substack.
Yeah.
I mean, people are very responsive. I have been on here for a little over a month. I already have 97 subscribers. And I haven't really, I post regular. I do that.
Okay. Because I noticed there's a couple other people I know who were getting hassled by talking on things that they didn't, and they had moved to Substack and they seemed to be still there. So that was a good sign.
Substack has been great. I mean, I have not noticed anybody being censored. Again, people are responsive, and people, I mean, I'm on Twitter, I spend a lot of times like trying to get people, friend exchange thing to subscribe to me, whatever, follow me. And I post to it, but I get nothing. I really don't understand Twitter. I don't know how you gain any kind of momentum on Twitter at all. At all.
Yeah. I have all your different things up there. I was just scrolling through them. So yeah, I will get that. I will put that link down in the description so people can go through and read it because it's a good read. I like your style. You write like you talk, and it's a good follow, and it's full of stuff.
So the other article, let me just give you the header of it. And it's called The Health Choice Divide: Inside the Battle Between Traditional and Alternative Health. And so that's the second article I wrote that talks more about the pharmaceutical industry and the medical profession and how they interact in this whole thing.
I was staring at me all the time. I'm searching, how come I can't find it? There it is, the Google's one-sided health game. So I'll update what they do with that. Well, one thing I could see for you, knowing you these years, is, man, you just keep on coming. You just keep going. You keep plugging, you keep going.
Well, when you sit there and you look at, when you've been running a business for 30 years, how can you just sit there and walk away? What the hell are you going to do?
Yeah, that's probably the thing, the turning point in my life when I was doing the show. At one point, I was given it every moment of my time. I mean, I did the shows Saturday and Sunday for a decade. I spent the whole Saturday preparing for Saturday night, Sunday for Sunday night, did all this stuff, and it didn't seem to go anywhere. So I kind of went at one point and go like, all right, Uncle.
Mm-hmm.
So I give you credit and keep on pushing. But I just,
I just do what I'm being led to do. It's like, even though I did this before, but like all the books I've written, I didn't write the books because it's like, oh, I need to come out with another book. It's because it's like, okay, you need to do a deep dive into this. And then, there's the ancillary message. Oh, and you should turn that into a book.
Well,
there's always that ancillary, spiritual message that says this is what you need to do. And I've gotten very good at following it. And I've followed it my whole life.
Maybe I could take a moment to get into the doctor of the Dr. Rita. But it seems to me that if I'm looking at my life, I've got the one thing that I think that I really can add to the public is all the years of research I've done on the New Testament Christianity. But the problem I've had is that all of the normal Christian, what do you want to call them, denominations, sects, and all that, I'll be of no service to them because I would be considered a heretic. Mm-hmm. Even though what I do, I could point right to Jesus, right from his mouth, and right from the Greek and the Hebrew and so on. But, for example, a question I asked somebody the other day, and they got a little nervous, was, do you realize that Jesus never said to pray to him? Never said it. And yet,
I believe that.
For churches are praying to Jesus. Now, I'm not saying I'm not going to say that, it's a heresy to pray to Jesus. Is the only thing that Jesus ever said was, you come to me now, but there'll be a time when you go to the Father. And it didn't even say about praying, but you're going to him as an intermediate. And yet, when I was in the churches, I've been in several different denominations, they were praying to Jesus, and I just said we should be praying to the Father. Well, right there is like, what? Jesus is God, and they go through this whole thing, and it's like, mm-hmm. This is why what I've did for my own personal health is I just cut all of it out, and I just stuck down to the red letters, and it's been very good. But I'd like to do that, but I don't know. And you said you've been led, and I'm thinking like every time I seem to be thinking I'm led, there's obstacles just go up all over the place.
But that's part of it.
I don't know if I'm supposed to punch through them obstacles or if they're like, wait a minute, or, turn left a little bit to turn right, just go this way. I've never figured that out yet all these years.
So the rule of thumb that I use is if it's persistent, if you sit there and you ask, well, what should I be doing next? And you get the same answer over and over again, then that's spirit communicating with you versus, well, I'm going to go do this and I need to, and because that's more ego pushing things along, and so being able to separate out the voice of God and the voice of your ego is really important. And I think that, you go to the beat of your drummer. You know what I mean? And the only way you can go to the beat of your drummer is if you're allowing spirit to lead the way. So if you're being inspired that this is what I should do, then, then that's what you're supposed to do. So I am going to tell you this. So this is the new thing. You'll appreciate this. I have taken audio recordings and put them into Grok and asked Grok to write it up into some kind of an article. And that's actually one of my new projects. So that might be something, not just taking a transcript, but doing audio recordings and then converting it using AI into something usable.
That's a good idea. I was going to say that the one thing that seems to work out with me is on a case-by-case basis. It's like people will be brought into communication with me for a purpose, and then that purpose is done, and they move in and out and everything, which is fine. It seems that maybe that is something rather than looking at like publishing this stuff or whatever. But I'm gonna look at that, because one time I had a guest on a long time ago, and it was very popular, and they did they transcribed the interview, and I was reading it, and I was aghast at how of watching my words on page that I said. I go, do I sound like that? Oh my God, But I know when you're talking, it's different, especially if you're seeing the person. But that's a good idea. I'm gonna check that out. Anything else here on this, or?
There was something else that I wanted to say, but I forgot because I have no brain these days. No, but I think, I just want to share a quick story about what you were saying. So I had this really good friend. We were friends for 5 years. I mean, I would consider her at that point in time my best friend. And so we would talk about God, and she was Christian, and I was okay with her spiritual path. I didn't try to talk her out of it. However, there's a big however, but I would call Jesus Junior. And apparently she took that really offensively. And it's like, well, I just would say, I just go to the big guy. If I have an issue going on, I just go to God, because God's the one that gives me the inspiration. My connection is with God. I don't have a relationship with Jesus. And why would I want to have a relationship with Junior when I can go to the big guy? So I would talk like that to her. Well, apparently she found it really offensive and decided, because she was going back to church, that she couldn't be my friend anymore.
Wow.
Even though I told her I wouldn't call Jesus Junior anymore.
I mean,
I
if you look
didn't
at
have any issue with her.
If you look at it within the theological construct of what Jesus did, he did his work so people could be reunited with the big guy, as you put it. So it's like he, and I don't know, I have a very intimate understanding of all this stuff, and I have no questions with any of there's no contradictions in it like that. And I actually ask on my show for people that if they have questions, they want to know, and I just never get answers. No, I never get questions. I never. And it seems like that they're too scared to know. But it's like, hey, when you know the truth, it'll set you free. So I'm not worried about the truth, because it will set you free.
Mm-hmm.
And just because somebody says something doesn't mean it's true. So.
Yeah, but it goes outside their narrative.
Yeah, well, I guess for myself, I've had my paradigm crushed a few times. The first time being the worst, most painful, worst time. And I've learned to build my paradigm to have it be modified along the way as needed based on truth, rather than have it be broken and shattered to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think probably I'm answering my own question, is that these are the things that people don't want to know about, because they're comfortable, or either in darkness or in fear, or they're comfortable and they don't want anything shaken. But I want to, to me, it's like, I want to know the truth, because lies can kill. Truth may hurt, but it won't kill. Truth will always lead you on it. And I have to learn to take my own truth meter. In fact, that was funny, talking to Grok about this. I started telling him about what I use to discern truth, using an internal guidance as well as external verification and stuff like that. And it was, I would say the word complimentary to it. Then I realized, I go, wait a minute, maybe this thing is being told that when someone tells you something, to compliment them. I don't know what Grok's programming is. I don't know if Grok will say, no, that's actually a bad idea. I don't think I've ever heard that yet. So either I'm right a lot or Grok doesn't tell you things. So even then they start to second guess.
I mean, I asked Rock something when I was putting the article together. I don't think I have it, but I was asking about conspiracy theorist people, or people that think outside of the box. And I'm like, so what about people who believe in ghosts? Are they just a bunch of crazy people? You know, and so it very gently talked about, well, it falls outside the narrative, but there are a lot of people that believe in ghosts. And it's like, okay, yeah, I don't know.
Another
I
thing
don't
that
know. It's interesting. There's a lot of truths that hopefully, are on the precipice of coming out. It really upsets me. And the reason I wrote those articles is that it really upsets me. I have done everything in my power in order to have my webpage, which is one of my primary ways of advertising, be successful. And it's like, but I got this big, ball and chain on me that's called Google that's making it so that I can't be successful. And how do you sit there and do anything about that?
well, there is antitrust stuff going on against Google and their search engine. So
Mm-hmm.
they've already been found a problem, and so they're still working on it. Maybe, I don't know.
I see, and that's the part why I can't walk away, because my hope or my belief is that at some point in time, this is all going to go away, and it's going to become like normal again. I mean, because all of this stuff started happening in 2020, so between 2020 and 2023, it really got a full grip. And so, it's just been a little over a year that I noticed that now if you type in, you're looking for anything alternative, that it's really limited, so they've really, went from really bad to totally suppressive. But no one and when I sit there and I bring it up, it's like, oh, well, I use DuckDuckGo or I use some other search engine, but DuckDuckGo runs on the Google algorithm, so that's not going to get you different results. And again, if 92% of the people are using Google because it is installed on every freaking cell phone in the country, it's like, how many thousands of people have been affected on the back end because somebody somewhere decided what was good for you and was good for me that we didn't even agree to.
I did on my show a while back, several years ago, I did a impromptu type of test, and I took all the search engines. I knew DuckDuckGo came from Google, but I still used them. And I used Alex Jones as the example, typing in Alex Jones. Now, if I type in Alex Jones, I'm going to think that Alex Jones' website should be coming up top, right? Well, all of the Google pages and DuckDuckGo and all that, all were talking about all the bad stuff about Alex Jones. And then way down there was his website. But Bing, when I did Bing, first thing was Alex Jones' website. I was shocked. That was a while ago.
But and my website shows up on Bing. But if you look up other stuff, it censors in a different way. How's that? But no, I show up on Bing. And I was going to change to Bing, even though I really didn't want to, but I was going to personally change to Bing. But then I started looking for some stuff, and there was a lot of like fact-checky stuff going on there. So like, okay, maybe not.
Yeah, well, maybe they will concede when you're that specific. The best answer is their own website, but then after that, they still tear things apart. I don't know. I like what you said about it. Well, at some point things are going to turn back to normal or whatever. I personally would like that to be true. I'm not seeing anything that's leading me that way, but I'm open to it. But a lot of people Uh-oh. A lot of people, surprisingly, people are saying that. And they're really convinced that things are going to straighten out. And it's the more the political stuff gets more ramped up and stuff happening, it gets more complicated. I'm just hoping that maybe things will peter out like the Great Wall, the Berlin Wall. You know, nobody blew it up, nobody broke it down, no armies came in there. It just kind of fell apart. You know, on a grassroots basis. So maybe that'll be the case.
You know, and it's just really challenging for me. I mean, you know, if I made a product, you know, that would be one thing, but this is who I am. You know what I mean? And helping people is part of me, you know, and expressing myself is part of me. And so it's I have hope. I have to have the hope because the lack of hope, which is where I was really hopeless, which is why I bought that house, is like, so then what do I do? You know, do I go get a job working at Walmart?
Yeah.
I mean, and, you know, and I've actually sent out resumes and like, no one will hire me. It's like I'm overqualified and underqualified at the same time. I can sit there and talk to you about web page stuff and search engine stuff and blah, 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 but no one will touch me because I never worked for a company doing
Yeah.
it. You know, so it's like,
You know,
even
it's
for like a
paperwork.
$20 an hour job, it's like, it's not even a freaking good job. It's like, come on.
I think I remember years ago working at Starbucks part
I was
time,
working at Starbucks.
and you were what was that Andy
I was a
Frayne or something like
barista.
that?
Huh?
Oh, an usher at a concert or
I did
something?
do that. I love that job.
Yeah.
So, you know, but people have to understand it's like there were things that I did in my past because I worked from home, you know, and I just needed to have some kind of not be at home thing activity, you know, that kept me engaged with people. The usher job, they paid me money to go listen to live music. So I've seen like Journey several times in Chicago and the Eagles, and they paid me money to stand there and dance. I'm like, I'm game with that.
Yeah.
You know, but it also satisfied that I need to get out of the house and kind of have a life, like around people, around energy. Um, you know, but when your business is affected, you have to sit there and go, okay, so maybe I need to get some income. Like during that period, it was like I did it because I wanted to do it, not because I had to do it.
Right.
You know, and I was very particular about where I invested my energy. You know, and I don't know. It is. My sister told me I should just retire.
Over the years when doing the show, I had jobs that concentrated my hours in a few days. So I would work 3 days a week and have the rest of the week off. Now those were all, I mean literally 3 days, but you know, so I could do I had plenty of time to do the shows and stuff like that. But in 2012, when the company I had was going down, I used to go down to Georgia and back once a week. Now I'm working, you know, 50 hours a week, you know, 5 days a week. And now there's, because I deal with containers right now, I'm actually off at least a day a week because there's no work because it's not coming from China. So it's a little bit, I want the time, but you know, I also need to survive. So it's a little hairy.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, anything else? Is that good or?
No, I'm good. I mean, unless there's anything else you want to talk about.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, leave it up to us. We'll talk for another 2-3 hours.
That's true. We do have that reputation.
Yeah. So I mean, just for like a couple closing things, like looking energetically out into the world. I mean, you perceive the energy and the spiritual energy. I presume you see this battle between, we'll call it light and darkness. Are you? And you did say that you're optimistic or hopeful, but are you seeing things happening that would be like evidence to this hope?
Very interesting question. You know, I used to do on my YouTube channel like these I forget what I called it. but I would sit there and actually like feel into the planet and talk about where the planet was and the energy on the planet. And that was a weekly show. And when COVID hit, I chose not to do that anymore. And I have not really resumed doing that. When COVID hit, it was horrible, energetically horrible. And people are like, well, what's the vibration? I'm like, I don't even want to touch it. I mean, because it was just like so evil and so much fear. And I do is just tell people like my goal every day is to just breathe and not freak out and not get caught up in the fear vibration that was on the planet because it was overwhelming. Um, and then there was all the hopelessness that came after that, and okay, give me 1 second. I mean, I feel like, so when I just kind of check in on it now, I mean, I feel like people are starting to see the light out there, and some of like those that had control and those that had power are losing their grip. I think that there's also a lot of frustration that things aren't moving along a lot faster than we would like for them to happen. I don't understand that part personally. It's like just release the stuff. Why is there be these big delays, and I don't know. It's a very transitional period we're in right now. But the evidence to me is, Warren Buffett just decided to retire. Klaus Schwab, I mean, these people are getting themselves out of these important places. I guess this was a today thing. Yes, I know, recent, that the Supreme Court decided, and I have not fact checked this myself. I just saw this today, that the Supreme Court decided that the COVID vaccine was not a vaccine. So that puts in a whole lot of other implications because that it was gene therapy. And apparently, according to the Geneva Convention, according to, different agreements, international conventions, gene therapy is considered illegal. And they can try them for
or at
crimes
least illegal
against humanity.
It's at least illegal in the fact that you weren't told it was gene therapy and you had to get it, right? So I mean, the point is that you didn't have a choice.
Well, I mean, add that on to it too. But with the Supreme Court making that decision, it sets a whole bunch of other wheels into activity. So, and I literally just saw that today. So that'll be interesting. I mean, I'm assuming it's true, but they're talking, potential Nuremberg trials about it because it goes against a bunch of different laws and, treaties and agreements, talking specifically about gene therapy or genetic manipulation.
I just checked that. It says Supreme Court did not issue a ruling. However, there's been significant debate and skepticism regarding the classification efficacy of it as a. That would be huge. That would be a earth-shattering thing because now you have all of those legal steps that you just mentioned. So I mean,
according to AI, it said that it hasn't been ruled on yet.
I used I just forgot which one I looked. I looked up one of the search engine ones. So the trouble with a lot of the stuff that comes out, I follow. I really like Telegram, and I have several people I follow on Telegram. I have a Telegram channel too, and it's really nice because you can just follow the feed. You don't just not know responses, and it's just simply here's the stuff. And I get a lot of these things coming out, and it sounds great, and then I go to research it, and it's not true. And it's like, well, I mean, I still want that feed. I don't want to have it pre-checked out. I want the raw feed, and I'll do the checking. So,
Mhm.
but there's been a lot of stuff to come out true too. So I'll just keep on
Well,
doing it.
and if this thing just happened in the last 24 hours, 48 hours, it might be that things haven't been updated yet. And that mainstream uh, media sources aren't going to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Right. That's one advantage Grok has on X over Grok on Gab, is because Grok on X also searches X.
Right.
So it has that extra data, whereas the Grok on Gab is a closed system. It's when they update it, more information comes in, but they can't interact with it, and so on. I'm gonna Sue, good live show here, sitting around talking, typing.
But this is actually very interesting and very timely.
Yeah.
And if that becomes the case, there was that TV series with Kevin Spacey, House of Cards, and really on a lot of levels, our government is a house of cards. And I've thought this for years, that all we need is one big card to fall for the whole house to crumble. And I always thought it would be like the JFK thing or whatever, but I think if this COVID thing crumbles, because so many people were affected, so many people were personally affected, that could be a game changer right there.
Yeah, it's rides with the Grok itself, and he said no. Apparently it's traced to amg-news.com. That's where it came from, and there's nothing on the dockets and nothing on.
No, because this thing said that RFK won his court battle about it. It was an RFK thing.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, I remember hearing something about that too. His, I think, if I recall, it wasn't dismissed. They wanted to dismiss it. Talking about mandates, right? This is a whole lot of stuff here. So, all right. Well, it's always good talking with you. And
Good talking to you too. So one last thing I want to throw out, and this is just like a plug.
okay.
So there's my website, soulhealer.com, that everybody can go by and visit. So my numbers in, my search thing will go up, even if it's just for a day. You're going to put like links to some of my social media, I'm assuming, in the show notes.
I have Grok. Well, I mean, I have X, but now you already used the Grok thing from it. I have X. I got Gab. I have Facebook. I have your Dr. Rita Live.
Okay, yeah. So I just want to share with everybody. So every Thursday night, I do Thursday Night Live with Dr. Rita Louise, which is me. And and I think I'm going to start instituting this, James. I was thinking about it, but I haven't done it, but I do about a 15-minute conversation about something. But I'm going to steal what we were doing and start calling it a soul healer moment, because it really is that. And then I open up the chat line and people can come and they can get a free on-air reading from me. And the easiest way for people to interact, to hit that chat, is by going to my YouTube channel, which is Just Energy Radio on YouTube. That's 3 words, Just Energy Radio, Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central. And I looked on it the other day. I have over 750 videos on there from when I had my show, Just Energy Radio. So there's a ton of stuff on there.
In fact, yeah, I listened this last Thursday when I was driving. I had a late day, and I went to YouTube, but it wasn't working. We knew about that. So I was listening on Gab or on Rumble, and I said something in the chat room there, but it disappeared. But all these other people were treading you for readings. What are they using if YouTube was down?
So no, YouTube wasn't down. I just didn't
You can
attach
still
my
use the
stream
chat?
to.
You can still use the chat there, even if you're not broadcasting?
No. So they were in Facebook. So people
Oh,
can
okay.
chat in YouTube or Facebook,
Okay.
but it's just easier for people to go to YouTube. Most of my people are in YouTube. And so if you're streaming to multiple streams, if you're on YouTube, you can only see the YouTube chat. If you're in Facebook, you can only see the Facebook chat. And so the Facebook people can't see the YouTube people. And so that's why I just suggest go to that one platform, because there's more people there and there's just more dialogue happening inside of the chat versus in the Facebook chat.
All right. Well, you got good stuff. And, you do that. I can see why you call it the soul healer moment, because what you're talking about in that opening stuff is pretty good. Pretty
Thank
good
you.
stuff. I mean, I'm not a big fan of listening around and hearing other people's readings because that's personal to them. But I like listening to your opening statement, your opening thing in there. It's pretty good stuff. I mean, it's always, to me, there's always something that you can learn from it, can either confirm or learn. It's not going to be a waste of time. So that's what's pretty good.
Thank you.
So hopefully, if I'm out at that time, definitely will listen. If I'm at home, a lot of times I'm zombifying, getting ready for the next day, in the chat. All right, so I will update a couple things that I already have on the bottom. I'll put the Substack and so on in the description, and I will upload this to YouTube. We'll see what happens.
Okay, and I'll connect to that for my YouTube channel.
Yeah,
thing.
we'll see. I haven't had a strike in quite a while, so they got to the point where they were deleting videos I did 4 to 8 years ago. They're
I've had that
deleting them
happen.
currently for 8 years ago.
I've had them take some of my Just Energy radio shows down. I haven't done that show in I don't know how long, and it was like whatever.
So I moved. I saw the writing on the wall. And I moved a lot of stuff over to BitChute. So a lot of those ones that got X'd are on BitChute. So I just kind of update it. But all right, we're doing a lot of inside baseball here between the two of us. I don't know.
Well, but I think anyway, yeah, yeah.
All right, so we will talk, and God bless you, and thanks for what you're doing.
Well, it's nice seeing your face.
Yeah. I tell you, the last like month and a half has been terrible. I mean, I was in the hospital, I had colon bleed, I fell off a 7-foot ladder, hit the ground, and here I still am. I'm still here. So,
there you are. So I guess there's some divine purpose for you.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that's what it is, because I thought when I fell off that ladder, I go, oh, here we go. Because I watched the Emergency. I like that show a lot. I got the tapes or the discs, and the guy fell down and he broke his spleen. I'm going like, wow, I fell down 7 feet. It's not like I'm a Superman either. So, alrighty, we will talk again, and we'll have you back. And soul healer moment, great. I'll look forward to that.
Okay.
Take care.
All right, James. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.